Olusegun Oludotun Ransom Kuti. So his surname was changed from Ransom Kuti to Anikulapo-Kuti. Now guys, check this out. Check out the meaning of Anikulapo. So I googled this meaning up, and this is the interesting Fela, pardon the pun. Now, back to Fela, during which he was an outspoken critic and target of Nigeria's military juntas, most notably the Abeokuta Women's Riot, which was led by his mother, and was actually Minister of Health at the time of his brother's death. Fela, he actually came out to the public to announce that his brother had died of AIDS. So this is Africa, the cradle of mankind's birth, where powerful kingdoms arose with stories of worth. A youth-filled land, the youngest population, with diamonds and cocoa from its fertile foundation, exemplary leaders, their legacy told. Nkrumah, Mandela, their spirits bold. From Johnson Sirleaf's Liberia, where freedom lies, and her first female leader, so wise. Let courage and dreams unite as one for a brighter tomorrow where greatness is spun. In this beautiful, colorful, and friendly domain, greatness awaits, where hopes shall not wane, where tales of triumph weave a tapestry. Welcome to Today in African History. Fela Anikulapo-Kuti. He was born Olufela Olusegun Oludotun Ransom Kuti. So his surname was changed from Ransom Kuti to Anikulapo-Kuti. Now guys, check this out. Check out the meaning of Anikulapo. So I googled this meaning up, and this is the result I got. One that holds death in its purse. Now, based on the mythical Akala bird, which wakes him from death, Saro, through the astute actions of Arolake, gains the power to resurrect the dead through a god stolen by Arolake and earns the name Anikulapo, which means the one that holds death in his purse. Absolutely fascinating. So this man changed his name from an English name, Ransom Kuti. So the prefix Ransom is an English name, obviously. And he said, no, I don't want any of that. That's not my surname. That's a name that's been given by the colonizers. I don't want any of that. He changed his name to Anikulapo-Kuti. Abamieda was his other name. He called himself Abamieda. What does Abamieda mean in Yoruba? Now that's the meaning. The Abamieda, as Fela called himself, could be translated from its Yoruba origin to be either abnormal, weird, or strange. But strangeness has always been the bane of famous artists, and Fela could not have been an exception. So I'm going to carry on with Fela's bio. Interesting Fela, pardon the pun. Now, back to Fela. We didn't actually leave him, I was just defining his names in his native language, the Yoruba language of Nigeria. So he was a Nigerian musician, obviously, you can see that from here. He was a band leader, a composer, and a political activist and Pan-Africanist. He is regarded as the king of Afrobeat, a Nigerian music genre that combines West African music with American funk and jazz. At the height of his popularity, he was referred to as one of Africa's most challenging and charismatic music performers. All music described him as a musical and socio-political voice of international significance. Fela Anikulapo-Kuti was the son of Nigerian women's rights activist Funmilayo Ransome Kuti. After early experiences abroad, he and his band Africa 70, featuring drummer and musical director Tony Allen, shot to stardom in Nigeria during the 1970s, during which he was an outspoken critic and target of Nigeria's military juntas. In 1970, he founded the Kalakuta Republic Commune, which declared itself independent from military rule. The commune was destroyed in a 1978 raid that injured Kuti and his mother. He was jailed by the government of Muhammadu Buhari in 1984. Now, Muhammadu Buhari was the outgoing president of Nigeria who left in May 2023. So the 29th of May, Muhammadu Buhari left as his second term. So that was the second time he was president of Nigeria. So he came during the second term as a civilian president. He was president of Nigeria as a military president from the 31st of December 1983. That regime lasted just under 2 years. He came back again and just left on the 29th of May 2023. So this guy has been president twice, once as a military president, a military dictator, and he came back as a civilian president. Anyway, I'm going to get back on track with Fela's story. So he was jailed by the government of Muhammadu Buhari in 1984, but released after 20 months. He continued to record and perform through the 1980s and 1990s. Since his death in 1997, reissues and compilations of his music have been overseen by his son Femi Kuti. The Ransome Kuti family comprise of Reverend Israel and Chief Funmilayo. Fela, whose full name is Olufela Olusegun Oludotun Ransome Kuti, was born into the Ransome Kuti family, which is an upper middle class Nigerian family, in 1988. And of course, on this day, 15th of October, in Abeokuta, which is located in modern day Ogun State of Nigeria. It is the capital of Ogun State of Nigeria, which at the time was a city in the British colony of Nigeria. His mother, like I said earlier, she was an anti-colonial feminist, and his father, Reverend Israel Oludotun Ransome Kuti, was an Anglican minister, school principal, and the first president of the Nigerian Union of Teachers. Now, a side bit from my knowledge of the family is that his mother also was reputed to be the first woman who drove a car in Nigeria. So Fela's mother was the first female person to drive a car in Nigeria. Kuti's parents both played active roles in the anti-colonial movement in Nigeria, most notably the Abeokuta Women's Riot, which was led by his mother, unsurprisingly, in 1940. His brothers, Beko Ransome Kuti and Olukoye Ransome Kuti, were both medical doctors. One was actually Minister of Health at the time of his brother's death. Fela, he actually came out to the public to announce that his brother had died of AIDS. So Fela himself had died of AIDS. Kuti is a cousin to the writer and laureate Wole Soyinka. So Fela is Wole Soyinka's cousin, a Nobel Prize for Literature winner. They are both descendants of Josiah Ransome Kuti, who is Kuti's paternal grandfather and Soyinka's maternal great-grandfather. What a family. So this man comes from upper middle class family. They didn't like to be oppressed by anyone. They were proud people, of course, because they felt, we're educated, we know what's going on. We're not going to let this happen in our country. We're not going to let this happen in our family. We're going to do what we want. We're not going to break the law. We're not going to allow the military, what's the word now? We're not going to allow the military intimidate us. So his mother was an activist. He was an activist. His brothers were a bit on the quiet side, of medical doctors. Some would say they were a bit more sensible. They didn't want to get into trouble. They stayed on the straight and narrow. But he was a radical. These are the kind of people that we need in a world where people want to take advantage of you. They want to manipulate you. There are times when you need to put your foot down and put your foot down hard and say, enough is enough. You can't do this. This is wrong. Do not be afraid to speak up to yourself. I've said this in many of my videos. Don't be afraid to speak up when you see injustice being carried out. Guys, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop my rant. Thanks for joining us today for this edition of Today in African History. This is one man that is respected even after his death in Nigeria. Ask any Nigerian old enough to remember this man, Fela. He is respected as a man who stood for what was right. If Fela was alive today, he would have spoken against the current government and the past government, all the wrongs that were going on. There are not many people like him alive today. Thanks for dropping by, guys. Thank you for supporting our channel. For those of you who have subscribed, if you haven't subscribed yet and you like what we're sharing here, do help our young fledgling channel grow. Let's attract more viewers. The more subscribers we get, obviously, the more YouTube pushes out this video to like-minded people who are interested in African history, people who want Africa to do well, people who know that there are men and women of power, men and women of integrity who have gone before us before, and that they have achieved quite a lot of positive things. We also learn from those who have not done so well, and we know that, okay, avoid these people or avoid the way they thought, avoid their thought processes, avoid their behaviors. Model your behavior on those who have made a name for themselves and who have helped hundreds, thousands, and even millions of people in the process. That is what we're aiming for, a better Africa for Africans on the continent and Africans in the diaspora. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.